In this episode of the CySec101 series, we're going to go through the Metasploit Meterpreter room, which is a part of the Exploitation Basics module of the Cybersecurity 101 pathway of TryHackMe. And this is technically our last instructional room before we actually go into the final challenge of the Exploitation Basics module. And so far in this module, we've learned some really fun stuff, and most of it obviously has been around Metasploit, which is kind of like the premier, the industry standard tool for exploitation. And we've learned a lot of really nifty things from the basics of what Metasploit is, and we did some really cool exercises in the last specific episode. And today we're going to be talking about everything about the Meterpreter tool, or the Meterpreter kind of extension part of the Metasploit tool itself. And it's just a very powerful tool, and I'm super excited about it. So I think you're going to get a lot out of it in this particular video today. Our content breakdown for today is basically going to be the introduction to Meterpreter, the Meterpreter Flavors, or the various versions of it, the commands of Meterpreter, post-exploitation with Meterpreter, and of course a challenge that we're going to get at the very end of this that will be our post-exploitation challenge. So I'm excited to go through this one with you. I think this is going to be a really good one. I think we're going to learn a lot about it. And then from here, we're basically just going to run into our final exercise, which is that blue room, where we use everything that we've learned to go ahead and exploit a target machine. If you'd like to support this channel, consider joining the Hackaholics Anonymous membership community, the premier community for security professionals and hackers. And we have 4 tiers: the supporter, agent, guardian, and master. And each tier gets their own Discord server and early access to content, while the agent, guardian, and master levels get exclusive content, exclusive downloads, monthly Python automations, live streams with me every single month, plus so much more. And if you want to join, you can simply click the link in the description below, or you can go to our homepage and click the join button, or you can go to youtube.com/@HankHacksHackers/join, and you'll be able to join Hackaholics Anonymous. Now, without further ado, let's jump into the Meterpreter room. Meterpreter is a Metasploit payload that supports the pen testing process with many valuable components. It'll run on the target system and act as an agent within a command and control architecture, and you'll interact with the target operating system and files using Meterpreter specialized commands. It has a lot of versions which provide different functionalities based on the target system, and it runs on the target, but it's not installed on the target. It runs in memory and does not write itself to the disk on the target. This feature aims to avoid being detected during antivirus scans. By default, most antivirus software will scan new files on the disk when you download a file from the internet, for example. Meterpreter runs in the random access memory to avoid having a file that has to be written to the disk on the target system. This way, it'll be seen as a process and not have a file on the target system. So what we did in the last exercise, in the last video, was we transferred a shell, right? We created a payload, we transferred the payload using a Python web server, and that is not something that is in the random access memory, right? That's something that is now a file that was generated and transferred to the computer, and now that file is going to be scanned using AntiVirus or some kind of threat detection. So Meterpreter doesn't do that, right? It's basically a payload that runs from Metasploit, and it establishes that reverse connection or that shell connection so that you can do what you need to do, and it runs on the RAM and without actually creating some kind of a file payload that'll be transferred to the target. It aims to avoid being detected by network-based IPS intrusion prevention systems and IDS intrusion detection systems by using encrypted communication with the server where Metasploit runs. If the target organization does not decrypt and inspect encrypted traffic coming to and going out of the local network, IPS and IDS solutions will not be able to detect its activities. While Meterpreter is recognized by major antivirus software, the feature provides some degree of stealth compared to downloading a file, for example, or transferring a shell file. Example below shows a target Windows machine exploited using the MS-17 vulnerability. You will see Meterpreter is running with the process ID of 1304. The PID will be different in any different case. We have used the getPID command, which returns the process ID which Meterpreter is running. The process ID, or process identifier, is used by operating systems to identify running processes. All processes running in Linux or Windows will have a unique ID number. This number is used to interact with the process, yada, yada, yada. So get PID, current PID for Meterpreter is 1304. If we list the processes running on the target system, we see that PID 1304 is spoolsv.exe and not meterpreter.exe, as one might expect. And maybe they have their intrusion detection and defense systems written to detect the Meterpreter name. But if it doesn't show up as the Meterpreter name, it shows up at spoolsv, then you most likely can get bypass or get past those detection systems. So even if we go a step further and look at the DLLs, the dynamic link libraries used by the Meterpreter process, we still will not be able to find anything jumping at us. For example, no Meterpreter DLL, right? So if we looked at the 1304, you can see that there's all of this stuff, but there's nothing Meterpreter specific, spool SDLL or whatever. All those things exist, but nothing for the Meterpreter. So the techniques and tools that can be used to detect Meterpreter are beyond the scope of this room. This section aimed to show you how stealthy it can actually be, but most antivirus software will still detect it. It's also worth noting that Meterpreter will establish an encrypted TLS communication channel with the attacker's system. So unless it's decrypted by their side, for the most part, they're not going to know what's going on. So no answers are needed for this particular session or this introduction to Meterpreter. So let's go into the various flavors of Meterpreter. As we discussed in the introductory videos for Metasploit, Metasploit payloads can initially be divided into two main categories. They are the inline, also called single, and then there are the staged categories. And if you have not seen those, they're pretty quick videos, and I think they're very useful. They set the stage for everything that we're talking about in this video. So I would recommend you go watch the last couple of episodes so that you fully understand and you get a good, strong foundation on Metasploit. You'll remember the staged payloads are sent to the target in two steps. An initial part is installed, which is the stager, and then requests the rest of the payload. This allows for a smaller initial payload size. The inline payloads are sent in a single step. Meterpreter payloads are also divided into staged and not stagged, staged and inline versions. However, Meterpreter has a wide range of different versions you can choose from based on the target system. The easiest way would be to list them using MSF Venom, as we can see here, list payloads. So MSF Venom -- list payloads, and then you can grep Meterpreter just to see what all of the various Meterpreters are. And you can see there's Android versions, there's Apple iOS, there's the Java, there's the Linux, and there's Windows versions. There's a lot of different versions. These are just the platform names themselves. And your decision on which version of it to use will be based on three factors. The target operating system, obviously. Is it Linux or Windows? Is it Mac? Is it Android? The components available on the target system. So is Python available? Is it a PHP website? And then the network connection types that you can have with the target system. Do they allow raw TCP connections? Can you only have an HTTPS reverse connection? Are IPv6 addresses not closely monitored as IPv4 addresses? So on and so forth. So there's a lot of nuanced configurations that will allow you to determine what type of Meterpreter flavor you can use. If you're not using Meterpreter as a standalone payload generated by MSF Venom, your choice may be limited by the exploit. You will notice some exploits have default Meterpreter payloads, as you can see in the Eternal Blue exploit that we see right here. And it immediately, as soon as you load it, it says using configured payload, the Meterpreter reverse TCP. We can also see a list of all the other available payloads by doing the show payloads command within any given module. So when we're inside of the context of Eternal Blue here, we can do show payloads and it'll show us all of the payloads for Eternal Blue. And of course, there are the Meterpreter payloads that are available for that specific Eternal Blue exploit as well. So that is what we got for all of this stuff, and still no questions. So let's talk about some Meterpreter commands. The first would be the help menu. So if you are inside of a Meterpreter shell session, you just type help and it'll give you the options that are available for your session. So to background something, to create the BG would be the alias for the background option for the background command, to kill the background, to list the background, background run, channel, close, so on and so forth. These are the options that would be available if you just typed help. Every version will have different command options, so running the help command is always a good idea. Commands are built in tools available on Meterpreter. They'll run on the target system without loading any additional script or executable files because it's all running from Metasploit specifically. Meterpreter will provide you 3 primary categories of tools. There's the built-in commands, the Meterpreter tools, and then Meterpreter scripting. If you run help, you'll see that Meterpreter commands are listed under different categories. So we have core commands, file system, networking system, user interface, webcam, audio output, elevate, password database, timestamp, and that's basically it. Please note that the list above was taken from the output of the help command of the Windows version of Meterpreter, which is the x64 Meterpreter reverse TCP, and they'll be different for other versions of Meterpreter. Core commands will be helpful to navigate and interact with the target system. These are some of the most common core commands. So background, exit, GUID, help, info, herb, which is the interactive Ruby shell, load, migrate, run, and then of course sessions. These are the core commands that work with pretty much every version of Meterpreter. We have the file system commands that are fairly simple, so cd, ls, pwd, edit, cat, so on and so forth. These are all very simple and pretty inherent, pretty unique to Linux, because it just, for the most part, this reminds me of Linux. But something like search, I don't think is a Linux specific, because on Linux we mostly either do find or locate. So there are like a couple that are different, and then the rest of them are pretty identical to what goes on inside of Linux. We have the networking commands, so arp, ifconfig, netstat, port forward, and routes. We have the system commands, so clear EV, clearing the event logs, execute, get PID, get UID, kill, pkill, ps, reboot, shell, shutdown, sysinfo, all of those. And then of course the other commands that are pretty solid as well. So webcam, chat, list, and snap, like these things are very, very interesting. Hash dump is very, very powerful and very useful. It dumps the contents of the SAM database and a variety of other stuff as well. So if you have a keystroke buffer, it dumps the contents of that. You can actually start capturing keystrokes. You can stop capturing keystrokes. There's a lot of good stuff that you can do with it. So these are just some of the commands, the core commands, as well as some of the kind of the ancillary commands that comes within the Meterpreter tool. And now we can talk about post-exploitation with Meterpreter. We actually ran a post-exploitation exercise in the last episode that we did, and we were using Meterpreter to actually make it happen. So that is just one example of using post-exploitation tactics with Meterpreter. Once you're inside the Meterpreter session, again, if you just type in help, it'll give you a bunch of different options for your given environment, depending on what operating system or payload you used. The get UID command will display the user with the Meterpreter currently running, so the user ID where you're actually running. So NT authority system is what you're actually running as. This will give you an idea of your possible privilege level on the target system. Are you an admin like NT authority system, or just a regular user? The PS command will list all the running processes. The PID column will also give you information that you will need to migrate Meterpreter to another process. So we have the PS command. It'll give us all of the PSs, the processes that are running on this particular machine, and there's nothing that has anything to do with Meterpreter on here. So as we established in a couple of readings ago, spool SV is the one that's assigned to this particular thing. So if we did the get PID of our specific session, it would show that most likely it's 1304, and the 1304 PID is associated with the spool SV executable. Migrating to another process will help Meterpreter interact with it. For example, if you see word processing running on the target, like Word, exe, or Notepad, you can migrate to it and start capturing keystrokes sent by the user to that process. Some Meterpreter versions will offer you the key scan, start, stop, and dump command options to make Meterpreter act like a keylogger. Migrating to another process may also help you have more stable Meterpreter sessions. To migrate to any process, you need to type the migrate command followed by the PID of the desired process. So first you would type PS to actually get the list of the processes, and then you can do migrate and then transfer yourself to that given PID, and it will transfer from 1304, which is where it's currently at, to 716, and then the migration will be done successfully. You may lose your user privileges if you migrate from a higher privilege, meaning the system user, to a process started by a lower privileged user. So keep that in mind, and you may not be able to gain them back without rerunning your entire Meterpreter session. And then we have the hash dump command, which will list all the contents of the SAM database. The security account manager database stores user passwords on Windows systems, and these passwords are stored in the NTLM, New Technology LAN Manager format. And so we see this here. So hash dump, administrator, guest, John, and then we have their group ID, and then you have their password hash, which is this second portion right here after this colon that you see right here. So it's not mathematically possible to crack these. You may still discover the clear text password using online NTLM databases or rainbow table attacks or John the Ripper or something like that. They can be used in past the hash attacks as well to authenticate to other systems that these users can access the same network. The search command is useful to locate files with potentially juicy information. In a CTF context, this can be used to quickly find a flag or proof file. While in actual penetration testing engagements, you may need to search for user-generated files or configuration files that may contain passwords or account information. So you can search for a file named flag2.txt, and it'll give you the full path of that, which is very useful. Shell command will launch a regular command line shell on the target system. Pressing Ctrl-Z will help you go back to the Meterpreter shell. So you have the shell, just that's it, and then press enter, and it'll actually turn it into a Windows shell for you, just like that. So that's pretty much it. That's all we got for all the README materials. And now we actually get to go into our post-exploitation challenge using Meterpreter. Meterpreter provides several exploitation tools, post-exploitation tools. So commands mentioned previously were the get system or hash dump will provide important leveraged information for privilege escalation and lateral movement. Meterpreter is also a good base that you can use to run post-exploitation modules available on the Metasploit framework. You can use the load command to leverage additional tools like the Kiwi or even Python. So you can say load Python, and it'll actually load Python for you. And it says Python execute print TryHackMe rocks, it'll actually print TryHackMe rocks. So the syntax seems to be a little bit different because I think you have to do Python execute to actually be able to run that specific command. It'll have several goals, right? The functions can assist all of them. Gathering further information about the target system, looking for interesting files, credentials, network interfaces, generally interesting information on the target, privilege escalation and lateral movement. Just based on the function that you're trying to pursue, you'll have different options available for you. Once any additional tool is loaded using the load command, you will see new options on the help menu. The example shows the added Kiwi module. So if you do load Kiwi, and then you see this right here, and then you type help, then you'll be able to get the help menu that has to do with Kiwi, right? And these are just some of the Kiwi commands that are available. So retrieve all credentials, credentials for Kerberos, so on and so forth. And the question below will help you have a better understanding of how Meterpreter can be used in post-exploitation. You can use the credentials to simulate an initial compromise over SMB using the exploit Windows SMB PS exec, and then we can answer these questions. So let's do it. The first step for us would be to use MSF console and actually load the MSF console. All right, cool. So we got that. And now we need to use this specific exploit that we have here, which will be done by doing use exploit /Windows SMB and PS exec. And we should be able to load that real quick. And then from there, we need to essentially just modify our options on it to use this username and password. So the B Allen and password for B Allen. All right, very cool. There we go. So now we're going to load the options here. So we're just going to do show options. And then these are all the things that are available for this specific exploit. So what do we have? We have nothing required up here. So C host, C port, so on and so forth. These things are not required, so that's fine. What else do we have down here? We have the R hosts, which is also not required, interestingly enough. But we do need to have the SMB pass and the user. And let me see. To simulate an initial compromise over SMB for this particular person. Even though it says it's not required, I feel like I do need to put the R host anyway, because it's like, how are you going to log in? Where are you going to log in? So 10.10.152.222 is going to be our R hosts, and the SMB pass and SMB user are going to be these guys right here. So okay, there we go. We set our data and everything that we needed to set, so I think it should be fine. So fingers crossed, typing run, and it says the module can target a session or an R host. Exploit failed. The payload has not been selected. I see, we need to select a payload. I have not selected a payload. Okay, that seems to be a little bit better. The first time I tried to load it, for whatever reason, it didn't give me these messages, and I don't think it loaded everything properly. So let's do show options one more time. And yes, this is very, very different. Okay, so all right, so now we actually do have the L host and L ports that are over here. There was a pre-configured payload that's here as well. The SMB pass is already here, so that's nice. And the user, these things saved for me. And then the R host, which is the 10.10.152.222, which is our target here, all of that has been saved as well. But some of these options, I mean, you literally can just rewind the video and go see that these things weren't even present the last time that I ran it. So I think it just didn't load the exploit properly. But now that we have this, we should be able to just run this bad boy and see what we get. All right, so I had to run it twice because it's not the most reliable exploit. The first time it didn't work, the second time it worked, and now we actually have the Meterpreter session. So that is perfect. Now, we can actually start doing some post-exploitation stuff. So we can basically, post-exploitation means you've now exploited, you have the Meterpreter session. Now you need to start gathering information, basically. That's it. So what is the computer name? And the hint says, oh, sysinfo. So we're going to use the sysinfo command. And then it's going to give us the computer name, the OS name, so on and so forth. So there we go. Computer name is Acme test, as it says right here. What is the target domain? It's also over here as well. So domain is Flash. We have that over there as well. What is the name of the share that's likely created by the user? And so this would be using the post Windows gather enum shares module. You'll need to background the session, da 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 da. Okay, so we need to background the session. We could do Control Z, and it says, do you want a background? I'm going to say yes and press enter. So now it's been backgrounded. So if I do sessions, I press enter. Now I can see that I have this session right here. And this is the connection that we have. It's a Meterpreter session, and the ID number is 1. So now I have this backgrounded session. I need to do the enum shares tool. So we're going to type back, press enter. And what was the thing? It was post Windows gather enum shares. So let's see if I can remember that. Or I'm just going to do search enum shares like that. And there's only one. Perfect. So we're just going to use that. And then we're going to do show options. And it's going to say that you need to fill in a session. So we're just going to say set session to ID 1, because there's literally one thing that I got. And then boom, run it. And now we get all of our information for our enum shares. So what do we need? It says, what is the name of the share likely created by the user? So these are the various shares, right? So you have the Windows sysvol, that's by the system, sysvol, that's by the system. By the user Speedster shares Speedster, that's the name of the share. That's what we got. What is the NTLM hash of the JChambers user? And in the Meterpreter prompt, you will need to migrate to the LSAS ESE process first. and then run hash dump. So, whoops, let me see if I could fix this. Okay, cool. So we're able to do that. So we're going to go back here, and then we're going to do sessions-I1 so that we can actually go back into our Meterpreter. We're just basically saying I want to start interacting with that session that I backgrounded, which is my Meterpreter session. And now I need to find the process ID of the LSAS process so that we can actually go ahead and do our dump of all of the credentials. So where's LSAS? Right here. So 764 is the process ID of LSAS. Okay, perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to migrate to that process ID, and the command, I think it was just migrate to the actual process ID. So let me just confirm that, but I'm pretty sure that's what all it, yeah, migrate to the process ID. So migrating to the process ID of LSAS would be to migrate to 764. So we're going to do migrate 764, enter, and migrating from 3808 to 764. Migration has been done successfully. And then once we are there, we now do hash dump. So let's do that. Oh, it closed my Meterpreter session. So did I skip a step? Maybe. Let's see. Use Meterpreter. You'll need to migrate to this, then run hash dump. I did do that. Okay, so my Meterpreter session died. So now I need to reconnect because I guess I did not have the best little session. So let's do this one more time. All right, cool. So that took a few tries this time around, actually. Same data, like I didn't change any of it. I run a few times and it said no, 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 no. And then the last time that I ran, I did use the word exploit and it went through. So I don't know if that's maybe the reason why, but okay, so now we have our Meterpreter session. So now what we need to do one more time is do a process list so we can get our LSAS. And if I do a PID of my current session, or get PID, excuse me, that would be my current PID is 3976, which is the PowerShell PID is what I have right now. And I need to get the LSAS connection, which is this one right here. So 736. So we're going to migrate to 736. Let's try that. Let's see if it'll actually work and it won't kick us out, hopefully. And the migration has been completed. Excellent. Okay, so here we go. Hash dump. Let's see. Don't kick me out. Session closed. Reason died. Why? Why is this closing my session and dying? Ugh, this is annoying. All right. I guess we're going to do this one more time. Okay, here we go. We got another Meterpreter session in this particular case. Instead of switching to the LSAS session, or the LSAS process, I'm just going to run hash dump. And are you kidding me? Wait, did it work? Metasploit. No, it did not work. Undefined method for this guy. Administrator worked, but nothing else worked. So it says, what's the NTLM hash for J Chambers? And we were not able to get that for this person. Okay, so this is what is the current stopping us right here. Like this is the big thing that's stopping us. So get PID for me is still 3968, which is PowerShell, which is obnoxious. And what do we got? We need to go to LSAS based on what the instructions keep telling us to do. And every time that I do that, it doesn't like properly work. So LSAS 732 is what I have here. Is there another one that I'm missing? No, that's not. So, I mean, that's pretty, like, it's pretty annoying, honestly. But I will try it one more time, and I'm just going to wait. After I make the switch, I'm just going to wait and give it like a minute before I do the hash dump one more time and have it kick me out again. So We're migrating to LSAS, which is 732. Enter. This is gonna go through fine because every time that we did it, it was fine. Okay, so we're good now. All right, so let's do get PID, and I'm now 732, which is I'm the LSAS. Okay, here we go. Okay, it didn't kick me out, so that's good. At least it didn't kick me out. So let's see if I can get any information on here. It says undefined method ID for nil class. It still got me the hash dump for this guy. So I mean, it got me the administrator's hash. I don't know if that's what I'm supposed to be using. I feel like it's supposed to be more straightforward than this, where we would get the information for whoever that person is, right? Like, I really feel like it's supposed to be much more straightforward. I feel like I shouldn't have to go and try to crack this guy's hash. But just in case, let's copy this and let's see if we can crack it using CrackStation real quick. All right, so we have the administrator's password. Password 123 is the administrator's password. Okay, let's try one more time to see if we can get J Chambers. So, I mean, for the most part, right, I've done everything exactly as we're being told to do it. It's just, it's not giving me the output because I think it's not the most reliable thing right now. And that happens, it does happen where you get like unreliable output. So I will keep trying. If not, I will most likely have to log in as the admin. Ooh, wait, I think, did that give me something extra this time? No, it just keeps giving me the admin stuff, and it says error while calling the hash dump undefined method ID for nil class call stack is, this is what it's actually trying to do, and it's not working for it. So let's see. Okay, so instead of using hash dump inside of Meterpreter, what I'm going to do is I'm going to background my session, and I'm going to go find one of the post-exploitation tools for hash dump. So there's actually something called hash dump that is a part of our post-exploitation tools, and it will allow us to hopefully get the information by using it in the aftermath. So let's see. So we got a couple here. We have the post Windows gather and then Windows gather smart hash dump. So both of these technically should work. So we'll do 19, which is the post Windows gather hash dump. Let me see, show options here. It just requires that session, and we have session ID number 3. So we're going to set the session to 3, and we're going to run it. Okay, so that one didn't work. So let's try that one more time. And this time around, we're going to use the smart hash dump. All right, there we go. Congratulations, it worked. So this one was the smart hash dump. So we did a post exploitation. This is, I think this is not the same as what we were supposed to do inside of the instructions that they gave us, because it basically says then run hash dump, and it implies that you're supposed to run hash dump from Meterpreter. And so that is definitely not what I did. I did migrate to the LSAS first, and I ran hash dump multiple times. As you saw, that didn't work, and so we backgrounded that Meterpreter session, and then we came inside of these post exploitation modules that we have, and I'm using the smart hash dump module specifically, and it worked like a charm. I set the session to the Meterpreter session that we had in the background, and it worked very well. So J Chambers is the guy that we're interested in. So the NTLM hash of J Chambers is, it starts from this 69 right here, because NTLM, the first hash right here that you see is the user, and then the second hash that you see is the passwords hash. So that is J Chambers' password hash. Very good. So now what is the clear text password of J Chambers? So we're just going to take this hash like this. Wait, hold on. I'm going to take that. Copy that. Go to CrackStation. Paste it. And it is trust no one. So there we go. That is his hash clear text. And then what is the secrets.txt file located? So let's find the secrets.txt. So now we need to go out of here, and then we need to interact with session 3, which is our Meterpreter. It says sessions interact 3, and now it should be Meterpreter. Great. So now I want to search for the file by the name secrets.txt. All right, so that took a couple of minutes for this search to actually finish, but we actually got it. So this is the full path of that file, and you need to just copy that to be able to answer this question. So it says, what is the full path of the file? And there it is. So what is the Twitter password inside of that file? So what we need to do is, I'm just going to do a cat, and then I'm going to paste that over here, because it will just display it onto the screen for me. And paste and enter. The system cannot find the file specified. Why not? What? You literally have it. It's right there. What do you mean, bro? It's literally right there. Okay, so if that's the case, then what we're going to do is we're going to print our working directory. We're just going to do some basic navigation then, if that's the case. So we are currently in this location. We need to go to program files. So we need to go program files. Let me see. Right here, program files 86. Yeah, so CD program files x86, like that. Take me there. Am I here? I am actually here. Excellent. Where's the location of this thing? It is Windows Multimedia Platform and then secrets. So program files, CD Windows Multimedia Platform. And there it is. So secrets.txt. And there we go. Twitter password is yada yada yada, and it includes that exclamation at the end of it. So that's very important. And we got that. All right, so what is the real secret? Where is the real secret file located? Full path of the file. So we are going to go back to our main directory here. Where is the main directory? Okay, there we go. So now we're going to search for the file. I guess I could have just done this asterisk.txt because I should have known that we needed to find more files with a txt extension, but I feel like it's going to bring a bunch of different files. So that's that's the issue right there, is that it's going to bring you a bunch of different files, and we're looking for the one real secret.txt, and thankfully it's the very, very last file, so that's nice. So real secret.txt is right there, and that is the full path to it. And what is the real secret is the final question that we have here. So we are going to go into inetpub here, and then www.root, and then in here we should have a real secret file. So we're going to cat the real secret, and the real secret is that Flash is the fastest man alive. I mean, duh. And that's pretty much it. That is literally the last question that we had over here. So pretty exciting. I think for the most part, everything was really easy to do, with the exception of the dumping of the hash file. for this particular question, and I had to use a exploitation module instead of just using hash dump inside of the Meterpreter prompt. So that was the big thing. And if you just rewind that and just watch that all over again, I'll show you it, like literally you'll see step by step exactly what I did, and you'll be able to get that answer. And from there, everything else was pretty easy to do. So hopefully you learned a lot from this exercise. This was a fun little exercise, like a good reminder for me to be able to go through all of this stuff. And I actually learned a lot from it. So I hope you actually learned a lot from it as well. If you got any value from this video, or if you like this video, or if you would like to find more videos like this one and get notified of them, please make sure that you like, subscribe, and turn on notification bell so that you get notified the next time that a video comes out, especially in the CySec101 pathway that we're on right now. And then just go check out all the other videos that are also on the channel, because there's a lot of stuff that's on here. There's other Metasploit videos that I've already recorded that are on here. I think the ones that I just did over the last few days are better explained, because the first time that I was going through Metasploit, I was also learning a lot about Metasploit, so I wasn't able to properly really explain everything that's going on as best as I think I was able to do today. And so, you know, apart from that, I think there's a lot of other stuff that's available that you can just use for your own further education. Drop a comment if you have any questions. If any part of what we talked about today didn't make sense, drop a comment. I'll definitely respond to your comment in the comment section. If you just want to say hi, say hi. But for the most part, I am very responsive. Depending on what your comment or your question is, I will get to it as quickly as I possibly can. And if it requires a video response, then I'll create a video response for your comment or question. So make sure that you like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so that you get notified the next time that a video comes out inside of the CySec101 series, including the very last one that we're going to do for exploitation, which is going to be that blue exercise, the blue room. And from there, that's pretty much it. So drop a comment, make sure you say hi. If you want to say thanks, all that good shit, and I'll see you. Another way to say thanks would be to support this channel by joining Hackaholics Anonymous, the premier community for security professionals and hackers. We have 4 tiers: the supporter, agent, guardian, and master. Each tier gets their own Discord server and early access to content, but the agent, guardian, master levels get exclusive content, exclusive downloads, monthly Python automations, live streams with me every single month, plus so much more. And to join, you can simply click the link in the description below, or you can go to our homepage and click the join button there, or you can go to youtube.com/@HankHacksHackers/join, and you'll be able to join Hackaholics Anonymous. I hope I see you in the Discord chats. If not, I hope I see you in the comment section. And apart from that, that's it. It's your boy Hank Hackerson at Hank Hacks Hackers, your favorite network and system attacker/protector. If no one else loves you, Hank loves you. Love, peace, and chicken grease. And I'll see you in the next video. Later.